So let's begin by settling the body, adopting a stable, comfortable, upright position serviceable for meditation. So we think about keeping our feet flat and our back straight, torso open, hands in the lap right over left with the palms upturned and the thumbs gently touching. Our eyes are gently closed or slightly open, making sure we let in enough light to remain alert. We try to maintain an awareness of not slouching, not leaning. We also let go of any unnecessary tension or rigidity in the body, relaxing into a stable, comfortable, upright position, just allowing the body to fall into place. And we begin to let go of attending to the outside world, allowing sights and sounds to be as they are without investigation, constraining our awareness just of the body and mind. We begin to concentrate that awareness in the present by attending closely to the physical sensation of the air as it moves into and back out of the tip of the nostrils. Giving ourselves the instruction to notice quickly when anything other than that one physical sensation is arising in the mind, and then without judgment or frustration to lift our awareness up from those distractions and to place it gently but firmly again and again on the breath. And then when the mind becomes more calm, we'll generate a broad altruistic motivation for our time. So begin to take a moment to recognize in your own life your own genuine, deep-seated wish to be happy, to be completely free of suffering. And recognize that you share that ground with every other sentient being. In that way, there is absolutely no difference between yourself and others. And so to use this life in a limited fashion to pursue only one's own interests, one's own desires, would be to ignore the needs of all of these uncountable sentient beings who, just like oneself, deeply wish to be happy, deeply wish to be free of suffering, and have a claim that is equal to one's own in being able to accomplish those goals. So in order to work for the benefit of others, I myself must become deeply familiar with the states of mind that naturally, spontaneously give rise to actions that are beneficial for those around me. And I must reduce the influence of states of mind that, rather than supporting beneficial action, often support, give rise to, impel harmful actions. And by engaging in that process of genuine inner transformation, I can become truly beneficial for sentient beings. So we take that process of transformation as our goal. And then with that motivation, we will contemplate the third verse in the 8 verses of thought transformation. And that verse is, "In all actions, I will examine my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly confront and divert it. In all actions, I will examine my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly confront and avert it." So at this verse, we contemplate the importance of vigilance in our practice, the importance of not indulging in these afflicted states, not allowing malice or jealousy, other types of afflicted states, arrogance, deluded pride, to run rampant in the mind, to be on the lookout for actions that are motivated by these afflictions. And as soon as we notice their arisal to first remember that those mental states do endanger oneself and others. To recollect that these are painful states for oneself to experience. They give rise to negative karma, which ripens as our own future experience of suffering. And in the moment, they create suffering for those around us. And on that basis, we wisely apply an antidote. We find a way to overcome as quickly as possible that afflicted state. So think back over the past few weeks in your own life. And think of a time when you found yourself under the influence of one of these afflicted states. Perhaps under the influence of strong attachment or strong aversion. And then once you settle on an example, bring yourself back to that memory. And then move backward in the mind 10 minutes, 20 minutes prior to what triggered that disturbing emotion. You notice how the mind is likely relatively at peace, relatively stable. And then begin to fast forward in your mind. Can you pinpoint what you would label as the first moment of that disturbing emotion? Did it arise quite suddenly? Can you think of a thought or feeling that brought upon that first moment? Try to get some clarity of what was happening in the body and mind as you moved into the afflicted state. And then imagine being able in that moment to remind yourself that this afflicted state is a danger to oneself and to others. That you're on the verge of engaging in a negative karma that will cause suffering for others and suffering for oneself. And then imagine being able to recollect some other way of engaging in that situation, telling yourself a different story about what's happening, moving the mind intentionally in a different direction in such a way that serves as an antidote to that particular disturbing attitude. What seems effective in your own experience? Imagine having been able to do that. And we'll contemplate the next verse. Whenever I see beings of bad nature and those oppressed by intense negativity and suffering, I will practice holding such rare ones dear, as if I had found a precious treasure. Whenever I see beings of bad nature and those oppressed by intense negativity and suffering, I will practice holding such rare ones dear, as if I had found a precious treasure. So with this verse, we are trying to change the way that we naturally respond the way that we've learned to respond to those who themselves are deeply struggling with afflicted states, with consistent habits that seem to cause harm. There certainly are those in the world who are unlikely to change ways of thinking and acting that can cause pain for those around them. And it's our natural inclination to turn away from such people, to respond to that harm with harm, or with disdain or hatred. Even those who remind us, due to their own suffering, perhaps the suffering of addiction, the suffering of extreme mental or physical illness, they remind us of the kinds of suffering that we ourselves might experience. And so we often turn away even from people in that category. Responding with fear, with aversion. With unease in the mind. And all of these interactions show us the limits of our own patience, our own loving kindness, compassion, generosity. And if we want to grow in a spiritual direction, then these are the limits that we must expand. So each one of these interactions is an opportunity to engage in that expansion. And by seeing people who are like that in that way, you can come to regard them, as it says, as a precious treasure. So again, bring to mind a challenging interaction that you had with someone who seemed to be of bad nature, someone oppressed by negativity, suffering. And recognize that just like oneself, this person deeply wishes to be happy, to be free of suffering. This person possesses Buddha nature, intrinsic capacity to achieve full enlightenment. and that this person has been limitlessly kind to me over beginningless past lives. So thinking in that way, try to regard them through the lens of loving kindness, compassion. And imagine being able to bring those to mind in that moment, that interaction, seeing how it would change, how you would respond, what actions you would take. And then when you're ready, we'll come back together. We'll dedicate. So recollect your altruistic motivation and think that by having engaged in this contemplation, you've actualized that motivation, which has generated positive energy in your mind. And think that you freely offer the fruit of your practice, that positive energy, for the benefit of all sentient beings without exception. Thinking strongly when this positive energy ripens, may it serve as a cause and condition to eliminate war and conflict, poverty, famine, disease, disasters, all painful inner and outer conditions. May it fully ripen the minds of all sentient beings. May I quickly meet perfect teachers and arise in the state of full enlightenment. May any obstacles facing the Guru's long life be completely dispelled, and may I and all sentient beings in this moment come under the joyful care and guidance of enlightened beings. May we be guided and protected until we swiftly achieve that state of enlightenment. Thank you.